When people talk about World War II, they usually mention the roaring tanks, the mighty battleships, or the dogfights above Europe and the Pacific. But few realize that one of the most decisive weapons of the entire war wasn't something you could see at all. It didn't fire bullets or drop bombs. It didn't march or roar. It worked quietly, unseen, untouchable, yet devastatingly effective. It was a weapon that could blind the enemy, mislead entire armies, and decide the fate of battles without a single shot fired. The invisible weapon that changed the tide of World War II was radar. And once it entered the war, the rules of combat changed forever. Radar, short for radio detection and ranging, wasn't entirely new by the time the war began. But during World War II, it evolved from a scientific curiosity into one of the most decisive tools of military strategy. Its concept was simple but revolutionary. Use radio waves to detect objects at a distance. When a signal bounced off an aircraft or ship, it could reveal the target's range, speed, and direction, turning the night sky and open seas into readable maps of movement. Before radar, warfare depended heavily on visibility. Aircraft detection relied on human lookouts, acoustic mirrors, and even trained listeners using massive metal cones to catch the sound of approaching planes. These methods worked poorly at best. With radar, that all changed. Suddenly, nations could see through fog, darkness, and distance. The invisible became visible, and that changed everything. The best example of radar's impact came early in the war, during the Battle of Britain in 1940. The British, facing the full force of the German Luftwaffe, were outnumbered and outgunned. Yet what they lacked in planes, they made up for in something far more valuable: foresight. Along England's southern coast, the British had constructed a series of massive radar towers known as the Chain-Home system. These towers were primitive by today's standards, but at the time they were nothing short of miraculous. When German bombers took off from occupied France, Chain-Home detected them long before they reached British airspace. That gave the Royal Air Force precious minutes, sometimes as much as half an hour, to scramble fighters and prepare defences. Instead of wasting fuel patrolling the skies, pilots could stay grounded until radar confirmed an incoming attack. This efficiency, combined with superior tactics, allowed the RAF to withstand the Blitz and ultimately turn back the Luftwaffe. Many historians argue that without radar, Britain would have fallen, and the entire course of the war and the world would have changed forever. Radar didn't just defend the skies, it reshaped the seas. Before its widespread use, naval battles often depended on visibility and luck. Ships fought within sight, relying on scouts and spotters. But when radar began appearing on warships and submarines, the ocean became a different kind of battlefield. During the Battle of the Atlantic, Allied ships used radar to detect German U-boats surfacing at night. Before radar, those submarines could attack convoys with near impunity under cover of darkness. But with radar-equipped escorts, the advantage shifted. Convoys could now spot periscopes or conning towers miles away, long before an attack began. This innovation, combined with code-breaking and sonar, crippled the U-boat campaign that had threatened to starve Britain of supplies. By 1943, radar-equipped aircraft like the British Wellington and the American Liberator began hunting submarines with, well, deadly precision. The so-called wolf packs that once terrorized the Atlantic were now being hunted by unseen eyes from above. In the vast Pacific theatre, radar's impact was, honestly, even more profound. The distances were enormous, and the stakes higher than ever. The United States Navy quickly adopted radar for both ships and aircraft, using it not just to detect enemies, but to coordinate entire fleets in real time. During the Battle of Midway in 1942, radar gave American carriers a crucial edge by providing early warning of incoming Japanese aircraft. That small window of preparation helped United States pilots launch counterstrikes that, turned the tide of the war in the Pacific. Later in the war, radar-equipped night fighters like the P-61 Black Widow and British Mosquito hunted enemy aircraft that once used the darkness for cover. Suddenly, the night sky wasn't safe anymore. The invisible had turned against those who relied on it. Radar didn't just win battles, it rewrote military doctrine. For the first time, nations realized that victory didn't depend solely on firepower, but on information, on who could see the enemy first, who could act first, and who could stay hidden the longest. That philosophy, born from radar's success, became the foundation of modern warfare. From stealth bombers to missile defense systems, everything that followed carried the DNA of radar's quiet revolution. Even in civilian life, radar's legacy is everywhere. It's in weather forecasting, aviation, traffic control, and maritime navigation. Every time a storm is tracked or a plane lands safely in fog, that's radar's invisible hand at work, a direct descendant of the same technology that once saved Britain and turned the tide of World War II. For anyone interested in history, engineering, or survival strategy, radar's story is more than a technological triumph. It's a lesson in adaptation and foresight. The British didn't invent radar overnight. They refined it through necessity, repurposed it for defence, and used it smarter than anyone else. It reminds us that innovation isn't just about invention. It's about timing, courage, and application. In a modern sense, radar's lesson applies to personal and societal preparedness. Just as nations needed an early warning system to survive, so do we in daily life. Whether it's maintaining awareness in emergencies, tracking shifts in the environment, or planning ahead for crises, foresight remains the invisible weapon that ensures survival. By the time World War II ended, radar had earned its place among the great technological achievements of the 20th century. It didn't roar like a cannon or blaze like a fighter, but its quiet presence shaped the outcome of every major theatre of war. The men and women behind those screens, the scientists, engineers and operators, were the unsung heroes of an invisible revolution. Radar proved that power doesn't always have to be loud. Sometimes the most decisive weapons are the ones that work in silence, seeing what others cannot and striking when it matters most. If you enjoyed this deep dive into World War II's hidden innovations, make sure to subscribe to Echoes of Valor. Share this video with fellow history enthusiasts and keep these forgotten stories alive. Because the more we study the invisible forces that shaped our world, the better we understand how history's quietest weapons often made the loudest impact.